Hey guys, how you all doing? Welcome to another video. Now, I don't know if you caught my little live stream not too long ago where I unboxed this little bad boy. I didn't really know what I was doing with the setup or what to expect, but I did manage to put it together and at least give it a little blast. Now, if you want to see that live stream, I will put a link at the top right of the screen now. However, in this video, I'm going to try and do my best at a proper review / first impressions, but there's not going to be as much flashy editing as I would like because I'm very time constrained at the moment. So what you're looking at here, guys, is the Bogist, the Bogist, I'm not 100% sure how to pronounce it, I'm just going to stick with Bogist. The Bogist M5 Pro by AOVO. In fact, it is an electric scooter bike, something which you have to use seated. There is not really an option for standing upright as the handlebars are at a fixed height, and there's no pedals. It's completely reliant on battery power. Now, you would be forgiven for thinking that this scooter is designed for midgets. Am I even allowed to say that? Little people. Okay, but let me just point out that I am 6 foot 2 inches and I do make this look a bit small, I know. But even for me, this is a very comfortable ride. I've spent a full 2 weeks riding this. I've even had a chance to do a proper range test, and I promise you guys, I'm struggling to find a bad word to say about it. Normally I would like to start with the negatives and finish with the positives, but really all this machine has done has surprised me with good things. So let's just start from the beginning, shall we? It was one of those typical scooter delivery days, you know, knock at the door, run downstairs, giant parcel left outside, and I'm thinking, oh no, what is it this time? Because when it's something that I'm not expecting, it's usually just trash or at least something that I'm not that interested in. But the first thing that caught my attention was that it had a seat. And I'm like, oh, it's got a seat on it. It's an e-scooter with a seat and a basket. It looks, it's like a cross between a mobility scooter and an e-scooter. Let's have a little look. Now, you may remember from my Highboy S2 Pro review, I was begging Highboy to send me the seat, remarking on how I'd never ridden an e-scooter with a seat before, and I really like the idea. Of course, the Highboy does come with a hole for a seat, but the seat must be bought separately, so I was a bit gutted. Highboy never sent me a seat in the end, even though I promised that I would do a follow-up video showing it off, but AOVO have more than made up for that disappointment by giving me this. And yeah, let me just get the obvious out of the way first. Yes, in the UK, unless you're very brave, or like me, you already have places in mind where you know you won't get into trouble, you're not going to get away with just cruising about town on one of these. I wouldn't even try just yet, not until the laws change, because riding about on this is just like riding about on a wee electric motorbike. This thing actually goes like stink for what it is. I've maxed this out at 42 kilometers per hour, let's just say 25 miles per hour, backed up by stats on my GPS and phone apps, and believe you me, it feels a lot faster than that. This is the fastest electric scooter that I've ridden so far, without a doubt. And sure, I know there's many other high-end scooters which go even faster, but for me, this is fast enough for thrills, so much fun to ride, and it's super comfortable thanks to the awesome 12-inch air-filled tyres. The Bogist M5 Pro has surprised me in so many ways. Let me tell you about my favourite features. Okay, starting from the top, we have the brakes. Now, the Bogist M5 Pro comes with front and rear good quality disc brakes that are very effective. The brakes arrive feeling quite soft, so you need to squeeze the brakes almost to 100% to get that abrupt stop. They can be tightened up, but I think they're probably like this on purpose just to give more control over your braking. I'm happy to leave them as it is. I think the brakes on this are very good and they stand out to me as being possibly the most effective braking that I've used so far. Even better than the Highboy's brakes with electronic disc brake combo. Now that doesn't surprise me because I remember the brakes on the last AOVO that I reviewed, I think it was the Manfrotto M5, and the brakes on that thing were incredible. I mean, I went as far as saying that they were too effective because with my dodgy broken arm that I had at the time, I almost didn't have the strength to stop myself going over the handlebars when braking. Like, that's how good those brakes are. But nah, here on the Bogist M5 Pro, the disc brakes feel just right to me. I really like them. The left side of the handlebars is where you will find a key start ignition. Yep, you get 2 sets of keys in the box, a pair of keys for the ignition and a pair of keys for the deck battery cover. More on that later. You have a digital display which shows you your current battery voltage, and to the left of the ignition you have thumb controls for both the headlight and a horn. On the right side of the handlebars is your accelerator. It's one of those twist the handle throttles, just like a typical road scooter, which I personally much prefer over having a thumb control throttle. What you also have here on the right side is your digital speedometer, which not only shows you how fast you're going, but it also shows you the remaining power with a small battery level indicator. This is also where you change your gears for different speed settings. Now, I can't tell you much about gears 1 and 2 because, probably like most of you, the only gear I'm interested in is the fastest one. In this case, the M5 Pro's top gear is gear 3. So, first gear being the slowest, say between 8 and 12 miles per hour. Second gear is your medium, between 12 and 16 miles per hour. Third gear is the fastest and will let you hit speeds at up to 45 kilometers per hour. The 500 watt brushless motor delivers a nice bit of torque, which will get you up some pretty steep slopes. It will depend on your weight though, what your maximum top speed is, and as I mentioned already, for me the top speed was 42 kilometers per hour or 25 miles per hour. The M5 Pro is designed for loads up to 150 kilograms. Now before I move away from the handlebars, let me just point out something, and that is that when you unbox the scooter, this latch here is how you attach the handlebars to the stem. And what I like about this method is that you can rotate the handlebars so that the brake levers or the digital displays are in a position that you find most comfortable. Like when I was first riding it, the brake levers were a bit too high, and it took a while before it dawned on me, like, oh yeah, I can just loosen this clip and tilt everything forward a bit, and now it's perfect for my height. It might be worth mentioning that this is the only scooter I've ridden that you can do this with the handlebars. The attaching bracket is something that I've never seen before. You will know that most entry-level scooters like Xiaomi, Ninebot, Highboy, they all have fixed handlebars, so you can't do this. Something else I've not seen on the e-scooters that I've ridden before is this style of headlight. Pretty much all the e-scooters I've tried previously have the exact same headlight with the exact same style and brightness. Now, I can't tell you if this headlight is better or worse because, full disclosure, as I'm sitting here typing a loose script for this voiceover, I haven't actually ridden this in the dark yet. But I definitely will have by the time I'm editing the video. So I'll probably have some poorly shot night footage for you on the screen now, and you can judge the headlight for yourself. This has 24 LEDs built into this headlight, so I would imagine it should be noticeably better. I don't know anything about the lumens output, but you can hopefully get a good idea from what I've got on screen, and needless to say, there is also a rear brake light. Okay, next is the folding mechanism. Nothing special to say here other than this is the kind I like. I don't know if it has some name for it, but I see this style on more and more newer scooters, and it's way better than the folding mechanism found on the old Xiaomis. In my experience, this type of locking mechanism is great for stability. I've never encountered any wobbling or vibrations, nothing coming loose. It probably will get a bit slack over a long period of time, but it's just a case of tightening it up and it should be as good as gold. Thumbs up for the folding bracket. Now, what should I talk about next, because I want to save the best things for last. Let's have a look at the deck. Now, the deck looks nice. I like the width of it. It's much wider than a traditional e-scooter. For comparison, the Hiboy S2 Pro and the Xiaomi M365 Pro, the decks are about 6 inches wide. Well, the deck on this is 8.5 inches wide. So there's plenty of room to just relax your feet, even for a tall guy like me. What I will say is that the grippy texture mat is like that very coarse, heavy-duty sandpaper feel. It picks up every bit of grass and muck, bushes, whatever. I've had to be really careful to keep this clean for filming shots because some of the grass gets stuck into this grip and it just won't let go. I've already found myself spending ages with my nails just trying to scrape off little bits of muck and grass. I guess if you want to clean it quickly, a hard brush would do the job. I just don't have a hard brush lying around. You will notice there is a lock towards the rear of the deck. This has its own separate keys, and I presume you would unlock this if you want to get into the battery. And I say presume because I haven't managed to get into it myself. I can unlock it and I can lift it up a little bit, but then it gets stuck and I feel like the deck is going to break if I try and force it. So there must be some special technique to fully remove this cover, but I don't know what it is. You may have to go in from underneath, but I'm not risking breaking this thing, so that's all I can tell you about that, I'm afraid. But looking under the deck, I'd like to point out two things. One, it's a very slimline battery, probably due to the fact that it's a LiPo, a lithium polymer, instead of a lithium ion, which allows for a more low profile design. They're more lightweight. These lithium polymer batteries are normally more expensive to produce. They're more robust and flexible, less chance of leaking electrolytes and stuff, but they don't typically have as much power as a lithium ion battery, which is maybe why going at full speed constantly on the highest gear setting, you will only get about 14 miles out of this thing. Second thing I'd like to point out is that the ground clearance on this deck is fantastic. The underside of the deck is 6 inches away from the ground. That's almost twice as high as all the other e-scooters I've tried, meaning that you can safely go up and down curbs without scraping the underside, which if you own a Xiaomi or a Hiboy style scooter, you will know the frustration of just wanting to ride off a curb, but you can't, otherwise you hear that dreaded scraping noise if you try. Well, that issue is gone here. You just ride on with no worries about scrapes or damage. And what about the actual seat? Well, I can tell you that it's very comfortable and very easy to adjust the height. When you first get the scooter, you just attach the seat to the pole. There's just 2 bolts to tighten using the supplied tools. It takes 2 minutes. Then you just slide the pole into the scooter at the desired height and tighten it with this clip here. It's as simple as that. The seat itself is very chunky and it's all just padding. So like I say, you'll find it very comfortable to use. There's absolutely no complaints with regards to the seat. I really like it. I think it's a good all-round seat for all butt sizes. I say all butt sizes because, as I mentioned already, it's rated for people weighing up to 150 kilograms. I did 14 miles straight on this and I didn't feel uncomfortable at all. It's a great seat for this type of ride. Something else which is great on this e-scooter, something that I laughed at when I first seen it, but I've since come to appreciate just how useful it can be. My second most favourite thing about this scooter, and that is the basket. This basket is actually a game changer for me. Mainly because I've been longing for a way to ride a scooter but still manage to fly my drone at the same time. Normally I have the drone tracking me and flying by itself. I just edit the footage, but the problem I've always had is where do I put the controller while I'm actually riding? I've tried all sorts of handlebar mounts designed to hold the DJI controller, but none of them have been any good. The mounts will bend, they'll slide, they'll break, or the vibrations just cause the controller to dislodge and pop from the mount and fall on the ground. So yeah, Also, you can't just throw the controller in a backpack because it's too easy to accidentally interrupt the flight or push a button on the controller by mistake and just ruin the shot. So I just haven't been bothering trying really anymore. Well, hallelujah for this basket. It's exactly what I need. Now, when I want the drone to track me, I just set up the shot, put the drone on autopilot, stick the controller safely in this basket, and off I go. No worries about accidentally hitting the thumbsticks or dropping the controller and breaking it. When it comes to filming, this makes everything so much easier. Not to mention the fact it's just good for carrying things in general, putting your packed lunch, putting some shopping, a towel, some tools, whatever you want to carry, I don't know. You can see here though that it's the perfect size for carrying my drone kit. I love it. The basket is very strong, it won't bend or distort. The only thing I did notice that was when you're riding over very rough terrain, it had a tendency to pop itself open and it just rattles about until you stop and close it again. So there is one little issue. In hindsight, I wish there is one little issue, and that is, you see the basket here going over the rough terrain. It copes with the rough terrain well, all the bouncies and everything like that. It's smooth. It's better than most scooters that I've had with suspension. God's honest truth, it is that good on this bumpy gravel. However, the basket keeps popping up and go over a bit too much of a bump, and then it just starts rattling like that. So yeah, that I should have tied. If I'd known that, I would have had this tied down for this journey, because that's going to be a bit of a pain in the ass listening to that every 2 minutes. So I'm going to have to go slowish for this type of terrain. But this was easily solved by just bending the locking latch a little bit further in, making it harder to pop open by itself. This is definitely one of my favourite features about this scooter, and I'm probably going to use this basket a lot. But my absolute favourite thing about this scooter, in fact, it's what turns this from being a good scooter into a great scooter, and that is the wheels, or the tyres, if you like. See, not only are these 12-inch tyres, which already would make a huge difference to the ride quality, but these are air-filled, explosion-proof pneumatic tyres, which not only claim to be wear resistant, but in my opinion completely removes the need for any suspension. I mean, these tyres are so good that after doing my range test, I felt I had to reach out to AOVO and actually ask them where the suspension is hidden. I was convinced that there must be suspension built into the scooter somewhere, somehow, because, and I'm not even joking you here when I say, this is hands down the most comfortable scooter I've been on. This thing just glides over all terrain better than anything I've ever ridden before. Even scooters I've ridden that have front and rear suspension don't come close to the comfort of this M5 Pro. It blows my mind how well this copes with rocky dirt trails, sand, gravel, grass, bouncing off curbs, whatever. And AOVO did reply to my email and confirm, and I quote, "No, the scooter does not have any suspension. The reason that you're finding the ride so smooth is because of the 12-inch tyres." So yeah, it blows me away how this is even possible. Some of the trails that I've been riding on, you know, if I was using the Xiaomi or Highboy, it would be bone rattling. Even with like the monorim suspension kits that you can buy. There was definitely quite a few occasions where I was just thinking, wow, this is like amazing how well it's coping on this track. And you may notice a lot of camera wobble in my shots, which looks as if I'm going over bumpy terrain. But let me be clear, this does not reflect the ride quality. You do not feel any discomfort when riding this scooter. The wobble is actually because my 360 camera selfie stick is broken. You know, there's like a kink in the pole, so the slightest bump causes the pole to wobble pretty bad. And if I had a better selfie stick, you would not see this wobble happening, I promise. So yeah, the Bogist M5 Pro by AOVO, which you can buy now for less than 600 quid, which I think is a great asking price for a machine like this, presuming that you can get away with riding one in your area, which I know a lot of you probably won't. And that is the only concerning downside to me. The fact that because you're sitting down, you stand out too much as someone who's riding an electric vehicle. And because it goes pretty fast, well, if the fuzz go by, they're going to pull you straight away, I would think. Thankfully, where I am though, there's no police presence at all. And because it's such a small town in the country, the chances are that as long as I'm not being silly, the police wouldn't even bother or care, which unfortunately can't be said for riding in most UK cities. However, the law is slowly changing and who knows what's round the corner. If you feel like you'd like to get yourself an electric scooter bike, then I highly recommend this. It's built well, it goes fast enough, it looks cool in a cute, quirky sort of way, and the ride quality is fantastic. The price point is very reasonable, and more importantly, it's a huge amount of fun and freedom. The Bogist M5 Pro is easily up there with my favourite e-scooters so far, even if I do make it look much smaller than it actually is, so please don't let that put you off. If you're like 6'2" or less, I'm sure you'll find it a joy to ride, just like what I have. And, you know, that's about all I can think to say, other than thank you to AOVO for sending me this to review. So until next time guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. I genuinely would love to know what you guys think of this, good or bad. Please let me know in the comments. So take care of the now, and hopefully I'll catch you all again real soon. Thank you very much guys, till next time, take care, bye bye. Okay, so that's the scooter packed in on me now. We're at exactly 14 miles, and yeah, we're never going to be able to see that LED screen, but yeah, trust me, it's packed in at 14 miles is where we're at, and it's done in. It might still go another, oh yeah, okay, it's moving again, but it's at the end of its life. Yeah, we've got so many old cool trains and that hidden away. We used to come climbing on them when I was a wee naughty boy. Sometimes they have one done up like Thomas the Tank Engine for the kiddies and that, you know. It's dead cool. Anyway, yeah. Bowness and Kinneil Railway.